Welcome, one and all, to round 6 of the WSL NASCAR Series. You join us as we venture over to the tricky triangle itself, Pocono Raceway. My name is Jack Oliphant, and I am one half of the most un-American style NASCAR commentary you could ever hope to come across, because David Christie is not only our broadcaster tonight, but he is also alongside me in the booth. David, how are you?
I'm very well. This is a bit weird, isn't it? Goodness me, I'm also very, very loud, so I'll just quickly turn myself down. This is awesome, Jack. You know, I've been watching from the sidelines for the past couple of weeks now. Absolutely loving all the action. I'm not going to lie, I am kind of giddy to be behind the mic for tonight. The question is, how many yellow flags are we going to have tonight?
Wow, well, I suppose we could stick a YouTube poll out on that a little bit later, but we do want to get everybody's feedback. I'm going to go ahead and guess between 7 and 9. That's where my estimation is going to head to tonight. Fingers crossed we get a lot less, though.
Well, we'll see. I mean, look, Pocono is a tricky track, as you can see there. A little bit different from the ovals that we normally race on here in the championship. But look, it all rests on a lot of things tonight. We're at the business end of the championship. We've only got a couple more rounds to go. We've got Homestead after this, and then Talladega. Championship-wise, it's so tight at the top.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully we'll be able to bring up the championship in a couple of seconds, because we've had a variety of victors and podium sitters throughout the entirety of the season, and it's left it very open. In fact, we can see it now. Sean Campbell, yes, he's getting a little bit of a lead. There's no mistaking that. Harry Wills, who has been ever consistent and actually had a really good comeback last time out as well, sits second with 172 points. So there is about 14 points between the top two, but that can be eradicated with Sean Campbell just having one bad round, and as David just said, there are 3 rounds to go, so that has every possibility. And then it's very close for third position with Kevin Stam, Isaac Rain, Jonathan Havey, Mark Redfern, Saoirse Fitzpatrick, and Matthew Heatrick, you would argue, all with about 15 points of each other. It's very close for that little sort of bottom step of the podium in the championship. Plus, obviously, we've had a whole host of newcomers in. Sean English is a driver that really pushed Sean Campbell all the way to the edge last time out. Didn't make it in the end, I don't believe, but still a really good showing on his debut. So looking forward to seeing how these guys crack on. And obviously, Dion Neuveld and Brandon Hughes. But to be honest, David, a lot of the time, we're seeing just the consistency, drivers turning up and finishing in those top 10 positions find themselves towards the top end of the championship, because we've had quite a few dropouts and quite a few people who are missing out 1 or 2 rounds.
The scary thing with that as well, Jack, is the fact that, 40 points for a race win, it still doesn't put any of those top 10 out of contention, and even, out of the top 10 as well, obviously stretching outside our graphic, but, all the way down to, say, maybe the 20th place on 102 points. Now, that might be a little bit of a stretch for them to get into the party as well, but stranger things have happened. But, I mean, thankfully, we don't have too long to wait for the action, because we're already into qualifying here.
We are indeed, and we're not too sure, because we don't have the wonderful tones of DJ Clark to serenade us with sort of what we can expect from Pocono and from the different tracks that we're going to. So we're sort of going into it not completely blind. We know it's a difficult track, Pocono. We know it's a bit tighter than usual. It is classified as a super speedway, but they don't call it the tricky triangle for nothing. We don't know whether the high line is going to be advantageous, whether the low line is going to ruin your tyres, how powerful the slipstream is going to be, whether you can run 2x2. So, to be honest, it's a bit of a surprise, and that's what we like, isn't it, David? We like a bit of a surprise, we like a bit of a variety, and obviously that hopefully will promote very close racing.
Well, that's what we're hoping for. I think the thing with Pocono is the fact that it's one of those tracks that the drivers and the cars can really stretch their legs. Yes, the 3 turns are a little bit tighter, I would say, than some of the other corners at, say, some of the super speedways. But, turn 1 with its 14-degree banking, turn 2 with its 8-degree banking, aka turn, and then the Milwaukee, turn 3, or slightly smaller one, of 6-degree banking, really lets the car, and this is what we're seeing here from Harry Wills, the car just sort of drifts out of that second corner and onto that straightaway here. The problem being, and we've seen this so many times throughout the championship, it's all going to dictate on these first 10 laps. You're going to see the top drivers deciding what line they want to run. everybody else is going to be running shotgun at that point.
I think it was Sean English, wasn't it, last time out, that was so very stubborn. I think Sean Campbell was as well. So very stubborn on running that really high line that it didn't matter, what anybody else threw at them. He just decided, you know what, that's going to be it. That's going to be my line. You guys are going to have to deal with it. And at California, I believe it was Sean Campbell actually who sort of got away with that. And every time he didn't even really bother defending. He just stayed on that high line and allowed everybody else to sort of attack him. In the end, it worked out for him rather well as well. So as we've seen qualifying, it's Harry Wills currently on top with 54.34. Isaac Rain just a touch behind with a 54.40. Very close times, obviously. 54.39 according to the timing tower on the left-hand side there. Obviously, Matthew Heatrick up in the top 5, so is Sean Campbell. There's no surprise there. And Mark Redford, who we're currently watching on board with. Mark, in his Civic Cup outings yesterday, didn't quite have the delightful finish he wanted. It wasn't as enjoyable an evening as he was hoping for around Alton Park, I believe it was. I was commentating with him on him yesterday. He'll probably be hoping that Pocono is a little bit of a different kettle of fish. He has come into the interviews beforehand and told us that, circuit racing is brilliant, but oval racing is really sort of what he enjoys and what is his guilty pleasure. And I believe he's one of the few drivers, David, that actually, if we do get a safety car and we have a few of them, we're running out of things to say during them, he's okay to come in and have a little bit of a chat to us. And he might talk about how his car's handling, because he's getting very squirrely on the rear end.
Yeah, fast as loose and on the edge of out of control. If you can name that film, I'd be very, very impressed. The thing is that's exactly what Pocono is about. You see the car sliding, almost, drifting out to the edge of the corner there. Now, that is going to cause massive issues with tyre wear towards the end of the run. But on about Mark Redford here and the amount of fun that he has taken part in this championship, I can absolutely understand why. Now, I'm a road course kind of guy. That's where I really enjoy doing my racing, so like GT3s, open wheelers, that sort of stuff. But I get really wound up by it because it's just murder sometimes trying to get a decent quality race. And yeah, every time I've been in an oval, it's been fun. It's been really relaxed. And it's been really, really just laid back as well. So I'm wondering if I'm missing a trick here. I'm wondering if I need to maybe try and push the boat out and get a little bit more experience with this oval racing. Certainly from the likes of, you've got your the stocks, you've got your late model, you've got your legends, which are just ridiculously good fun. I really, really do enjoy them. So yeah, I'm actually wondering. I've been wondering this from the start of the season because, like I said, I've been watching the racing going on, and it's making me incredibly jealous here.
I was going to say, haven't you ventured into the booth for the US version of the WSL NASCAR series? Obviously, a bit later on, well, early in the morning, shall we say, from our timelines. But you ventured in the booth there, and that's been very exciting as well, hasn't it?
Do you know what's weird, right? Is obviously you think, oh, well, EU, this is a US sport, so the US are going to be better at it. From my experience, because I've done the production from both the EU and the US for the entire season, I'm going to say the EU are way cleaner in terms of racing than the US. Now, I don't know if that is in terms of the actual, whether it's just racing cleaner or that the US lot are pushing harder or taking chances, but certainly the amount of accidents we get in the US racing is... It's quite impressive. You would be, and just as I say that, well done. Take a bow, Stuart Reynolds, just making me absolutely eat my own words live on stream there. That was, I'm wondering if he was paid to do that there, but Stuart Reynolds is straight into the wall. But that being the point, we've seen some narrow misses from the EU law, and yes, we've had our fair share of safety flags, but over the course of the entire season, I would argue that the EU has been marginally cleaner than the US law.
Oh, that's nice to hear, because as you said, you wouldn't be expecting that the US would be sort of more high level. And another point I was going to say about, whenever you jump into an oval race, if it tends to be fun, slightly relaxed, you learn a lot, obviously. And I wonder whether that's because iRacing was obviously basically built up on oval racing, wasn't it? It was built up on NASCAR and those things. It was a simulator originally designed specifically for oval racing. It's maybe one to ponder as we have a look at the grid. So Harry Wills will start on pole position with Isaac Rain in second place. Mark Redford rounds out the top 3 with Matthew Heatrick in 4th position. And Sean Campbell, I would say, uncharacteristically out of position. He's down in 5th place. You can pretty much guarantee he's going to be in the top 2 rows by the end of lap 1, though. Stuart Reynolds will be in 6th place with Saoirse Fitzpatrick in 7th, Jeff Browning in 8th, George Hill in 9th, Dean Timms rounding out your top 10 with Judith Cooper and Brandon Hughes in at 11th and 12th. We do have another page of, another half page, shall we say, because we got Errol Uruxi in 13th with Matthew Bruno in 14th, Robbie Power in 15th with Sean English all the way down in 16th position, not setting a lap time. Kevin Stam also not setting a lap time. So a few drivers there, whether by choice or potentially by penalty, and not setting a lap time on that one, David. A bit of a shame, but I'm sure, like we've seen with most of the NASCAR races over the past few weeks, you know, the rear runners become the front runners, and the front runners become the rear runners, and they all sort of take turns at it.
Well, that's exactly it, and it might be a strategy thing, staying towards the end of the field, and maybe just wanting to wait and see. What the other thing as well is the fact that not all of these drivers are going to be 100% happy with all of the tracks that we run here as part of this World Series League's NASCAR Championship. They'll maybe have tracks that they prefer. Pocono might be on the bogey list for some of those drivers tonight. I doubt it. Watching the names that we've seen here, I mean, the simple fact is we had 12 out of the 16 cars qualifying for the race and setting very, very respectable lap times. That's always been the one thing that's impressed me about this championship. It has been how tight and how close the pace is between all of these drivers. And let's get to the action then.
Yeah, I was going to say the drivers are starting to pull out of the pit lane now, and it gives us a chance to sort of not only get the engines up and running, but also get the excitement building as well. Harry Wills on the top 2. Obviously, he's in constant contact with us, isn't he, Harry, in the broadcaster chat on our Discord. He's always willing to come in and have a chat to us, and he's sort of giving us little updates as we go through the race. And to be honest, he sends us updates even though he's still out there driving. I'm not entirely sure how he's doing it. I'm guessing he's on his phone. It's still very, very impressive, the fact that he can sort of keep up the communication constantly. Obviously, these, if you didn't catch it before, the full grid for you for tonight, obviously. Keep an eye on Matthew Bruno, I would say as well, not setting a lap time, down in 14th position, and Sean English just behind him in 16th. I can full well expect those drivers to be pushing through the order very, very quickly indeed. But actually, from what I can tell, Matthew Bruno, Sean English and Kevin Stam are yet to leave the pit lane. Now, I'm not sure where Robbie Power is either. I don't know whether my timing screen is slightly messing up. I'm not entirely sure, but as we round out the final couple of corners, it will be Isaac Rain and Harry Wills who will get us away as the lights will go out. Very excited for this one. Pocono, tricky triangle. Hopefully it will live up to its name and give these drivers a little bit of a challenge, as I believe the lights are out. That means the safety pace car will disappear as a driver spawns just in front of them.
I saw that as well. That's Robbie Power. God knows where he's come from. He's just appeared right at this.
How's he done that?
That's some David Blaine stuff. Right, pace car is out. Jack, let's go racing.
Indeed, so it's the number 95 of Harry Wills on the inside and Isaac Rain just on the outside. Then there's a big gap as the 96 of Matthew Heatrick has been absolutely left for dead. I think Heatrick was in 4th place. He's now all the way down in 6th position, dropped back an entire row as Mark Redford settles himself in the 77 machine into 3rd position, with Isaac Rain still swapping places with Harry Wills, and Harry Wills actually having to go to the inside. So maybe that higher line that Isaac Rain possessed gave him an opportunity to just get that extra bit of drive out the corner, and is able to retain, hold on to this race lead. It looks like Redford's got a bit of pressure from, you guessed it, Sean Campbell. I said he'd be in the top 2 rows by the end of lap 1, but we haven't even got to the end of lap 1, and he's potentially putting himself into a podium position. Mark Redford gets very squirrely, very loose on the rear end, as Pocono is already showing, flexing its muscles, and showing that you do have to be on a very specific line. If you get pushed out wide, you may well struggle.
Wow, what a charge on that opening lap from Sean Campbell there, number 26 driver, charging, powering his way through the field, already up into third position, and quite honestly looking like he's going to make easy work of getting up into that top two positions there just now. You've got Isaac Crane. We're not maybe used to seeing Isaac too many times leading at the front of the field, but doing a damn good job already, as we're already into lap number 275 here. Harry Wills in that second place and Sean Campbell in third. Has a little look on the inside here, and this is a real trial of trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen with these cars here. Sean Campbell absolutely got the setup of that car dialed in. Look at how much more pace, how much more trust in the car, Jack, he's got right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's clear as well that turn one, you can carry that outside line, can't you? The three corners with three very different characteristics, but it looks like turn three is where a lot of the overtakes are going to happen, and you can't defend much of it either. This is an example potentially of what I was just talking about. Sean Campbell on that turn one, he goes wide. That allows Mark Redford up the inside, but I think he's going to get a nicer run. And this is how Isaac Rain got the lead in the first place. He's going to prove me wrong here, isn't he? And in fact, I think he is proving me wrong. Campbell still holds that second place. Yes, he does, but is he going to be able to get the car length ahead that he needs? As he goes into turn two, it's actually Harry Wills and Fitzpatrick just up the inside, and big moment there for Mark Redford. Harry Wills has had to just drop out of it. Sean Campbell holds on to it, but let's go to turn three. You might see an example of what I was talking about. You really do have to dive into that lower line, and if you do get dived, if you get lunged, then there's every opportunity that we see this, because the 18 of that's Robbie Power, cannons into the wall. Two drivers trying to go for the same bit of track, because there is no chance of carrying any speed on that higher line around turn three. And Robbie Power ends up cannoning into the wall, cannoning off the wall, and causing the first caution.
Wow, and we just cut to that just as we saw Brandon Hughes touching the back end of that car. Let's see if we can get a replay here. You just saw it was to the inside there. Obviously, that's going to be netcode then for that car there. You see it come down on the inside there. A little bit of contact. I don't know, Jack, where that number 18 is expecting the number 33s of Brandon Hughes to go. The car obviously comes down and it ends up careering off into another couple of cars there. It's been, 10 minutes, and I've already got my antagonistic, sarcastic side out. I'm quite pleased with that, I've got to be honest.
I was going to say, it hasn't taken long at all, and long may it continue, David. As I said, I'm curious. I don't really know where he thought the other driver was going to go there. NASCAR is one of the many series you should always have it on, but the spotter is pretty essential, isn't it, in NASCAR, because the cars run so quickly and so close. He will have been told that there is someone on his left-hand side, stay right, or whatever they sort of utter in your ear, but clearly didn't listen or sort of didn't take any attention to it, because he turned down towards that apex. But it is another example of what I was saying about you really do want to take that apex, and some cars are just slightly too desperate to do it, as Judith Cooper gets a really good look at it, and actually gets tangled as well. I don't think we saw too much of that one, unfortunately. If we did, we got swept away with the drama of the initial contact, because Judith Cooper unfortunately has fallen victim to it as well. I think Judith has managed to get back going. In fact, no, he's in the pit lane now, so fingers crossed a fast repair is on the cards and she can get back out.
Yeah, it was just that we caught the tail end of it there. The red car just came flying through. I saw it coming up on my notes that there was a big collision. So if I'm right in saying, Judith racing for the Prismatic Motorsports crew, and great as always to see so many of them in the YouTube. Incredibly vocal and incredibly active as always. It's brilliant to have their support at pretty much every single race, not just the EU ones, but in the US ones as well.
I was going to say, we do love it when the spectators and even drivers get involved in the YouTube chat as well, because NASCAR, let's face it, it has its fair share of DNFs, doesn't it? It has its fair share of retirements, and we like when the drivers come on the YouTube chat and they give us their opinion and they give us a bit of a breakdown of what happened from their perspective, because we can watch all the replays in the world and we still don't quite get what the driver has when he's there in the moment, and the emotions that they go through. So it's always nice to see a sort of driver's perspective, as Judith Cooper, media director for Prismatic Motorsport, by the looks of it.
So not only does she race with them, she's like a pretty important figure for them there. Yeah. Just another random person there. Yeah, that's fine. I knew remembered that she was to do with Prismatic. I just couldn't remember exactly what. But media director, that's well, I tell you what, that's one very official, and that's one replay that's not going to be going on social media, I can imagine.
I was going to say, if it's her job to cut all these bits together, I imagine she'll probably be choosing to ignore that. Well, to be fair, Judith couldn't do anything about it, though, could she? It was pretty unavoidable from her perspective. She saw a crash happening in front of her. She tried to go all the way to the left, and a car just ended up catapulting itself off of the outside circuit. As we see a few weavers in the background.
I'm also watching the YouTube chat as well. We've already got a couple of contenders for hashtag. We need to get one that's like hashtag Judith did nothing wrong. That's what we need to get going by the end of the broadcast. Well, look, Jack, let's talk about this first caution of the night, because obviously very early on in the race, lap 7, coming out at lap 4/lap 5, it's not really going to affect the strategy too much. But as we see from so many times, we got through an incredible amount of time last week in the EU race without any cautions, but we find that caution periods.
It's the problem, isn't it? It's the old adage, really. As you mentioned, safety cars breed safety cars. Caution periods breed caution periods. It's the same, whatever sort of series you're working on. You're absolutely right. I don't think the strategy is going to change too much. We're not sure how the tyres are going to cope with Pocono. It's always a bit of a gamble. Different tracks cause different amounts of traction, but we do think that Pocono is one of the harsher tracks on the tyres. But yeah, fingers crossed we can get an extended amount of running now, because it was bliss last time at California, wasn't it? Really, it was so long with green flag running. I suppose we probably used all our luck up.
Yeah, exactly. But it looks like pace car lights are off. We are getting ready to go racing once again here at Pocono. It's going to be Isaac Rain ahead of Sean Campbell, Harry Wills from Shorshey, Fitzpatrick, Matthew Heatrick, Stuart Reynolds, Errol Ruxoy, Dean Timms, Jeff Browning, Mark Redford. That is your top 10. Let's go green flag racing, Jack. I'm ready for this. Let's get going again.
Isaac Rain is ready for it as well, and he's absolutely gunned it, as Sean Campbell has to fend off, and a very interested looking Harry Wills, who will be probably quite put out the fact that he didn't retain his top row of the grid. But Campbell, again, using that outer line to try and get that better run onto the back straight. It looks like it has always worked in the past. There's no reason why it wouldn't work this time, and indeed it has worked this time. Isaac Rain leading by 0.3 of a second, but it's everybody else pretty much queuing up for second place. What I want to see as well is a bit of an extended green flag period as Sean Campbell gets very loose on the rear end. That won't help his run out, but it also won't help his tyres either, as it looks like Errol Ruxoy is struggling there. Maybe a little bit of contact, something happened because he's been falling down the order. Mark Redford's got past Browning, Hughes as well, and a little bit of a potential drama in that midfield pack. But yeah, I want to see how the slipstream works at Pocono as well. Where are we going to see potential overtaking opportunities? How powerful is it going to be? Our driver's going to be able to make a bit of a gap, as the top 4 appear to be doing, and as Harry Wills appears to be going up the inside of Sean Campbell.
Yeah, but you see how unstable that car looks on the inside there, Jack. A little bit of a wiggle there. Although saying that, Sean Campbell getting way too close to that corner there on the outside of 2 there. He gets a good run on the back end of Harry Wills here, but this is also allowing Shorshey Fitzpatrick to get right up to the front of this group as well. And I've got to be honest, we need to see Shorshey getting a good result here. You know, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, it seems to be for Shorshey this season. Gets itself up into the top 5 with a couple of laps to go, and then for whatever reason the luck just seems to run out in those last couple of laps. But we're still watching Harry Wills here. He's not really making any big inroads to Isaac Rain, but Sean Campbell definitely on the back, and Shorshey Fitzpatrick really wants to get a piece of this.
Yeah, Saoirse has actually just put in the fastest lap of the race. It was 0.2 quicker than all the drivers in front of her. You're absolutely right. She didn't have bad luck. She wouldn't have any luck at all, would she, at this rate? And like you mentioned, now we're in the back half, the sort of latter stages of this championship. We really do want to see some positive results for her because, as you mentioned, always at the front, but never really quite able to finish the job off. And the majority of the time, just like Judith Cooper experience, rarely their fault. Isaac Rain has been reined in, though, shall we say, as Harry Wills looks very interested, with Sean Campbell flying around the outside. Is that of turn 2 as well? That could be very... No, it's turn 3, even more impressive. We don't see that very often, but Sean Campbell clearly has his car set up on rails, which has allowed him to pull alongside Harry Wilson, overtaking him and potentially taking the high line into... No, he doesn't even need to take a high line into turn 1 if he doesn't want to, because he's got the car all the way ahead. Fantastic driving by Sean Campbell.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful stuff. He's really enjoying dragging that car out to the outside line there, and already my first time jumping in behind the comms for the EU lot, and I've already butchered Sergio's name. So yeah, it was close enough. I mean, come on, let's face it. Given how we were pronouncing it at the start of the season,
I was gonna say.
I'm quite happy with that. Anyway, Sean Campbell though, this is a revelation, because Isaac Rain was looking very, very comfortable, but look at this, it's going to be a side-by-side battle for the lead, and if I'm not mistaken, Harry Wills is seeing this and thinks, yes, I'm going to have a lot of that, but that was a big snap oversteer moment there for Harry Wills, and God knows how he just held on to that.
I was going to say, maybe you got a little bit too excited as loud pedal came on a little bit soon there. I think a bit of a premature acceleration, unfortunately, for Harry Wills, but he managed to get it all back together and, in fact, attacks Isaac Rain. So Isaac Rain drops from first position all the way down to third as Sean Campbell picks up the race lead, something that no one really wants to see when they're participating in a NASCAR race. Because once he gets in the race lead, it's very difficult to stop, as Harry Wills is the first driver to throw his hat into the ring for that challenge.
Yeah, this is getting a bit spicy now. Lap 11 out, 75, and that's Sergio Fitzpatrick into the wall. We're still under green flag running here. That was a hard hit onto the front right for Sergio, and I think there's going to be a little bit of damage, surely, you'd think, on that car.
Yeah, I can't imagine she'd get away with that. I don't know if we can get into the... obviously, we're in the cockpit. Can we get into the driver's head? That's the view we sort of want to see. Whether the steering wheel is crabbing slightly, whether the sort of speed is down. It's very difficult to see, but you would imagine there's going to be a little bit of damage. If not to the car, then to the pride of Sergio Fitzpatrick. And unfortunately, in that top 4 running for about 4 or 5 laps, we had high hopes for her. And it just, again, hasn't quite come off. But there's a long way to go in this race as Mark Redford now puts another move on her.
Just want to have a little look at the front right of this car here. It's not the best, and may God have mercy for what I'm about to do here. But let's have a look at the rear chase cam.
Getting vindicated.
It's horrible. Yeah, that is brutal. And, well, there you go. So, yeah, big damage. The difference is whether or not that actually affects the handling of that car. So, we'll keep an eye on that. But Harry Wills back out into the lead of the race. And you've got to say, it's starting to stretch a little bit of a gap here.
He is indeed, yeah, as all purist iRacing broadcasters around the globe now turn away from the WSL NASCAR EU thanks to that camera angle. It's a bit of a taboo one, isn't it? But you're right, Harry Wills is pulling away from Sean Campbell slightly. I wonder if Sean's maybe preserving some fuel or preserving some tyres. We don't see him normally allow a gap of 8/10 or 9/10 of a second now, nearly a second. It is a second. Harry Wills has either found a turbo boost version of his car or found the NOS button or something. All these drivers fighting really are sort of letting it slip here. Isaac Rain obviously keen to try and take some positions back. They would be more wise to stop the bleeding of time away from Harry Wills, though.
I think, from the looks of it, though, to be fair, Harry Wills has just found the turbo NOS button, as Stuart Reynolds is having a little bit of a connection issue there. He's darting about all over the place. But have a look at this, because, I mean, Harry Wills is now 1.3 seconds off into the distance here. Sean Campbell fighting it out with Isaac Rain. And then it's pretty much the best of the rest right now. Mark Redford is just behind Matthew Heatrick, and Sergio Fitzpatrick now falling down into the clutches of Stuart Reynolds, who's just behind her in the number 35 car.
Sergio Fitzpatrick as well, last lap time was about half a second down on everybody else's, so unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get any better for Saoirse until she comes in, gets that fast repair, or even she might not need the fast repair. It might not be that bad, but it's just maybe hurting her for a couple of miles an hour down the straights, which is pretty much everything in NASCAR, isn't it? You really are carrying minimum speed, and I know that's the objective in all forms of racing, but it's sort of amplified here in NASCAR. You really do want to make sure that you sort of keeping, if you can just gain an extra mile an hour or an extra half a mile an hour in each corner, all of a sudden you probably gained a half a tenth, which, as I mentioned, is pretty much everything in NASCAR. It's the opportunity to pull away, it's the opportunity to rein someone in, and it's the opportunity to get into someone's slipstream, which is very important as well. But Fitzpatrick just doesn't seem to have the answer now to that damage on the front end of, or front right of her car. Sean Campbell just about to come across the line soon. I want to see what these guys are doing in terms of lap time as well on that previous lap, because it looks like maybe they've stemmed the bleed, shall we say, from Harry Wills just pulling away. They're not bringing it back in, but he's not exactly extending it anytime soon either. They come across the line now, and it's a 54.9 for Harry Wills. Sean Campbell was quicker by about a tenth of a second. Isaac Rain was about 3/10 of a second quicker, actually, on that last lap, which is why he's going for an overtake. He obviously feels like he's the driver that should be chasing down the leader.
Yeah, the problem is that while all this arguing is going on, Harry Wills is just off into the sunset. 1.8 seconds, nearly 1.9 seconds off into the good there. Also, one of the cool things is that because we've got all the fancy toys at our disposal here, you get the top speeds of all of the drivers. Now, because Stuart Reynolds is bugging out and his connection is all over the place, his top speed is 443 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
So I mean, faster. I think we're pretty much faster than the sound barrier at that point. So yeah, that's a good effort there from Brandon Hughes. Disappointing to see him all the way down in 8th place with that supersonic car though, but maybe it'll come good later on in the race.
I was going to say, it's really, he's underperforming then, isn't it? We should really be very disappointed with Brandon Hughes right now. No, obviously we shouldn't be. As Isaac Rain is that pushing down the back straight there, isn't it, David? He's not trying to make a move anymore. They're trying to work together, because all of a sudden, after they started fighting, look at the gap. They've opened up another second, or 1.2 seconds, to Harry Wills, who I'm sure probably won't be texting us in the Discord chat now as he's driving around concentrating on the race lead.
I believe the technical term for that is unwanted physical attention from Isaac Rain onto the back end. The thing is that he's given a nudge to Sean Campbell up in front. Let's go on with the nose cam to see exactly what happens here. I think he's a little bit too far back here to actually make this happen, but it did look like that. It did look like when they exit the corner, and the problem is, look at that gap now, 3 seconds. What is going on with these two? And there you go, a little bump to the back. And, well, it's not really helping, is it? In fact, if anything, Mark Redford is like, hello, I'm come to play with you two.
I was going to say, Mark Redford was, I wouldn't say dead in the water, but it was there was a significant gap, shall we say, between 3rd and 4th, and it's just all seems to have dwindled away somewhat. And, like you said, I'm not really sure what those two are doing. George Hill going to the inside for some reason down the main straight. Maybe it's just to try and break that slipstream. And to be fair, I can understand, because if Brandon Hughes is doing twice the speed of sound, I should say, then he needs every opportunity to try and break that little bit of slipstream. As he's trying his best, but that car looks a little bit battered and bruised, doesn't it, David? I don't think we've seen the full story of his race so far.
It's certainly seen better days, hasn't it? As that's Isaac Rain up and fighting with Sean Campbell then, and Mark Redford fancying having a go here as well. Look, the simple fact is that these drivers are not on pace. Isaac Rain and Sean Campbell, they're about half a second rather, behind Harry Wills. But one person who is on pace is Mark Redford. He is just 1/1000th of a second off of the fastest lap of your race leader here, so he has got the pace, and he did a 54.64 last lap round, so he did his personal best last lap. So I think Mark Redford is your driver, if anybody here, to catch up to Harry Wills.
I was going to say, to put that in perspective, everybody else apart from Harry Wills is now in the 55s, aren't they? They're going substantially slower than their qualifying times and substantially slower than they were 10 laps ago. Is this the first indication, David, that potentially we're seeing tyres going off and maybe scrubbing a little bit quicker than we've seen before. Mark Redford has clearly held on to his tyres quite nicely, but as Isaac Crane and Sean Campbell were fighting with the car and sliding around, giving us some fantastic action shots. Might not have been having much mechanical sympathy earlier on, and they're paying the price for it.
Yeah, they absolutely are. I got distracted again by YouTube as Trans Taco making probably the worst pun in history. Poor Robbie Power, who was with us tonight, booted out for connection issues. He had a ping of over 2,000, and Taco saying that it's obviously not a very powerful connection. I wish I had like one of those mad little signboards that you could just put in it like a groan sound effect. But look, obviously we're gutted that we lose another driver from the field, Robbie, in that number 18. We saw, I believe it was Robbie that was came into collision with a 33, or was it the other way about?
He turned into
it was Robbie Power that crashed into to Brandon Hughes. So hopefully we'll get that all sorted out and get them back for next week. But as it stands, Harry Wills ahead of Isaac Crane, ahead of Mark Redford, and Sean Campbell has dropped off the back end of the pair of them here. But Isaac Crane now also 2 seconds ahead, or 1.3 seconds ahead of Mark Redford.
Tell you what, now Taco's opened the jar of the puns that we can bring in now. I'm going to make it my mission for the next, 50 laps, trying to find the most out there puns we possibly can and see if we can work
Shall we put Taco in time out just for that level of...
We can do. I might actually send them to
admin abuse straight away. This is why I don't get to go on the microphone, because I get a little bit too heady and a little bit too carried away with power. But do you know what? We'll maybe put a poll up on YouTube very shortly for that.
I was going to say, I want actually a direct link to Taco, because I want to be able to get the best DMs to announce them on commentary before we get, just to annoy you more than anything else.
You want that as an inside source, so suddenly we just hear you with all the terrible puns.
Exactly, I'm concentrating too much on lap times and tenths and hundredths of a second. I need puns direct to my DMs, that's what I need.
Oh, Dean Timms has crashed.
Oh, he has indeid.
No,
that's bad
yellow.
Tim's, isn't it?
No, just
too much of a stretch.
no,
too much
right?
of a stretch, that one.
Why 46
though? 46 is out of the race, and yet you're right. We haven't got a yellow flag, even though half his front end is completely missing, isn't it? I'm not sure how he hasn't.
Oh god, the leader's just coming up.
I'm not sure how he hasn't pinged a caution period there, but we haven't, so I suppose we should be quite thankful for it.
Oh no! Come on, he's right at the bottom of the track. He's not hurting anyone. He's literally just recovered, and he brings out a caution. Yeah, that's gutting to say, but there we go. Second caution of the night. Oh, he's crashed again, I think, has he? Or he's no. So basically, when the cars go under about, I think it's about 15 miles an hour, it comes up on our alert system that a driver has crashed. So yeah, well, look, that's made things a little bit more interesting though, Jack. I mean, we got a good, 15 laps out of that, 16 laps out of that second stint there. So drivers will come in, maybe get a little bit of fuel, a little bit of tyres. Still think it's very early though.
It is early, isn't it? But to be fair, actually, unlike sort of like California and some of the shorter speedways that we've been at, shorter circuits we've been at, we are, about a third of the way through this race, if my maths don't let me down. So arguably, we might be a touch early, but we're not over early for a potential pit stop. And if I was a lot of these drivers, I think I would at least be jumping in and taking on the fuel. Harry Wills will be fuming about this, though, won't he? He had a 4-second gap nearly to Isaac Crane, and all of a sudden it's just a snap of fingers, and it's gone. Especially as he watches that back, and will realise that realistically it didn't cause the safety caution first, and then after a very delayed response, it did, and we don't really feel like we didn't really feel like we needed it. Unfortunately, Dean Timms had sort of gotten out of the way and stopped being a threat, but so Harry Wills, I'm sure, will be fairly disappointed with that one. Yeah,
he really, really will. But, I mean, look, the pace that Harry Wills has got, I don't think he's going to be too upset by this. And maybe unsurprisingly, nobody coming down at the pit lane. That is a very empty and quiet-looking pit lane, if I'm not mistaken there. Of course, the pit lane is closed for the first lap of the caution, but I don't think anyone's going to be coming in.
Now, we might see Matthew Bruno be allowed on
And
lap.
of course, I just said that. Hello, yes, there we go. It had to be as soon as I said that. We've got like 60 cars trying to come into pit lane. Of course there is.
I was going to say, they're all going to basically make a massive pilot, but I'm sure they'll enjoy the challenge. A little bit of an interesting one, though, because quite a lot of the time, we've seen drivers actually miss their pit box, haven't we? And then you have to find reverse gear, and you're wasting about a tenth or two or maybe even a full second. So keep an eye out for this one as Harry Wills goes in. This could be a really good pit stop if he takes... There we go. We're seeing a few people having to reverse.
Yeah, I saw that.
And having to potentially lose out on their opportunity to gain a few places. In fact, they might lose one. They're all taking tyres on the right-hand side.
Was that Mark Redford's?
Oh,
I just saw... No, it wasn't. It was away down further back. Who is that having real problems?
Is that just in front? Is that the number 4? The number 5? Is that Judith Cooper again?
Yeah, I think it is. That was a big reverse back there. And of course, you have to be careful in the pit lane as well, don't you? Because... you have to be careful because if you reverse or anything like that, you're at risk of getting a black flag.
You are, actually, yeah. You don't want to speed or anything like that either. And unfortunately, I know we have a lot of Judith supporters in the chat. I can't really make a claim for that one. That one was her fault, unfortunately. But back in the race, which is the important thing, obviously. Isaac Rain has taken the lead of this race with Harry Wills in second place. Mark Redford, although it looked like he potentially had to reverse slightly, has gone into third place. Sean Campbell's stayed in fourth position. Matthew Heatrick in fifth. Jeff Browning, we believe, has come out into sixth place as well. So not a massive shake-up, not the biggest we've ever seen, but still enough to bring us back to a very close battle, potentially, for the next 50 laps, David. And to be honest, although Harry Wills won't be very happy about that whatsoever, especially as he's lost the race lead after having a 3.5 second gap, it still will provide, hopefully, a good spectacle for us spectators and commentators.
Well, here's hoping, and I think it will. I mean, we're 1/3 of the way through the race. It gives us plenty to think about here. It gives us plenty to wonder what if right now. And I'm a little bit confused as to why there's several cars at the back there not quite caught up, especially one. We'll see what happens there. I've got to say, I may have put Taco on timeout for 300 seconds after a hideous pun there. It's not on my watch. She will be welcomed back with open arms. Just no. Anyway, right, lap 26 at 75. What are we going to see here on the restart, Jack?
Well, fingers crossed we won't see another safety car, obviously. But what I think we will see is a very, very motivated Harry Wills and Isaac Rain, who obviously held the lead for, I would call it a substantial amount of time. It was 5 or 6 laps. And then obviously maybe had it fall away from them, will again be, pretty keen to at least stay within touching distance this time of the race leader. Harry did pull away substantially. Maybe Wills and Campbell will have learnt their lesson as well, and maybe not to fight too hard and try and focus on going forward rather than falling over themselves. We'll have to wait and see, though, as the drivers now get into a 2x2 formation, as the commentators say, hurrah, hurrah. The safety car lights, or pace car lights, I should say, go out. So that means we'll be about to go racing. Isaac Rain has already had to deal with one restart. He dealt with it very well. He was very efficient in putting the power pedal down and able to get a really nice jump on the rest of the field. He gained about 3 or 4 tenths of a second last time he led the field round into turn 1. It all got whittled away eventually, but he'll be hoping for a repeat performance and then maybe to better it as he goes further into the stint. But Isaac Rain, he takes the checkered flag, imagine that. He takes the green flag and gets away rather nicely as well. Harry Wills on the outside will be under attack from Mark Redford. On the in, with Sean Campbell getting boxed out towards the rear end and outside of the circuit. He won't mind that one bit because that is his preferred line round turn 1. But as Isaac Rain leads, he's got a 4-tenth gap. Now, as Mark Redford gets very loose with a little bit of contact potentially with Sean Campbell, it's not going to go Mark Redford's way for the time being. But he manages to get it all collected back up as the top 3 break away and Redford fights with Browning.
Well, that was an epic restart that's still not all over. You can see Matthew Heatrick, Stuart Reynolds all getting in about there. Jeff Browning still involved as well. And yeah, that is a brilliant restart there. You already see Harry Wills as well. We'll come back to him in just a second. But 2 by 2, you can see that is that was Matthew Heatrick and Stuart Reynolds going side by side. There's Saoirse Fitzpatrick dropping down another couple of places here. But yeah, this is starting to get a little bit sketchy for my liking.
I was going to say cold tyres, that's the problem really, isn't it, with these opening couple of laps, as we've had a pace car pit stops and a couple of drivers potentially getting caught out. Maybe that's why we saw Mark Redford get a little bit squirrely. Maybe there wasn't actually any contact with Campbell, but the top three have nicely gathered themselves back together, and almost the same as we saw about 20, maybe 15 laps ago. We're starting to see them have a little bit of a battle with Harry Wills, interested in trying to take that lead away from Isaac Grain yet again. Sean Campbell, again, probably, like I mentioned earlier, not be keen to repeat the same mistakes he caused earlier in allowing the front lot to get away, and maybe just be a bit smarter and see if he can just take his lines, carry momentum, see what happens, let them fight over each other before he really makes any kind of particular moves on being the race leader, because it doesn't look like Sean Campbell quite has his car together. As we see, the number 46 of Dean Timms coming into the pit. Now, he was the driver we saw earlier on. He caused the second caution period. His car looks a lot better than it was back then, so I imagine he's come in and had it repaired. I'm not sure why he would be in again. We haven't seen any incident, have we, David?
I'm not sure, but have you seen the state of it? I mean,
it looks messed up.
For me, yeah, that's enough alone. But yeah, we'll see what's happened there. Stuart Reynolds falling further down the order as well. Looks like that's been a little bit of contact there for Reynolds. They get going again, but yeah, Stuart Reynolds was running up in sixth position, I want to say, fighting with Matthew Heatrick. But yeah, that is, yeah.
Well, as I said, it did look like the front end of Dean Timms' car was actually looking a little bit better than when we last saw it, so I assumed he came in for a fast repair, in which case that damage must be new, unless he didn't activate the fast repair. Either way, he's deemed it necessary to come back into the pit, and I've also deemed it necessary to throw another pun out there. You're very welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Isaac Grain has got a Harry Wills breathing all down the back of his neck as Sean Campbell yet again struggles to keep up.
Just try to find the mute button for put you on timeout for 300 seconds as well. What a race this has been. This has been absolutely epic. I mean, look, we had some of the races earlier on in the season, Jack, that were a little bit scrappy, they were a little bit all over the place, but this is just mega stuff here, because it's not a case of one driver, you know, off by about 20 seconds into the moonlight. Instead, we've got proper battles going on all through the field. We've got Isaac Grain and Harry Wills. You've also got Sean Campbell just there in the background, so this is going to change. But look at this little battle right now. Jeff Browning, Saoirse Fitzpatrick, Errol Erexoy and Judith Cooper, they're all getting into each other as well here. So yeah, this is an awesome little race that we've got, and we're very quickly going to be approaching the halfway point. Yeah,
well, at some point during the next couple of laps, I just want to have a look and see if we can look from the gearbox, basically, of Browning and see if Fitzpatrick has managed to mend that front end, or whether there's still a little bit of damage that may be causing it to lose a few miles an hour here, there and everywhere. We'll have a look a little bit later on, because of course we have to focus on the race lead. Both drivers getting very close to that apron, David. That makes me a little bit uneasy, because we've seen plenty of times in NASCAR, as soon as you touch that apron, the cars get very squirrely and we end up having a massive crash. They both survived for now, but I think it just goes to show how keen they are to just try and have a look at the inside and fill the mirrors of the drivers around them.
It's fine. This is absolutely fine. Nothing to worry about whatsoever getting down on the apron. It's not as if it's instant guaranteed death every single time. I say that because I know from experience. I've done that many times. Over eager, you get a little bit too confident, a little bit too happy with the line that you're taking. You're trying to push the car down. Suddenly, it gets a little bit of extra grip, and then you clip the car, or you clip the apron on the inside, and then yeah, just ends up looping round. But I'm pretty sure I saw in the background there, they're already starting to come off. Oh my goodness me! Sean Campbell out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're used to seeing him send the high line, but he did come from about 2 car lengths back to pull alongside Harry Wills. I almost thought there was something wrong with Harry Wills' car, and he maybe was having a little bit of a breakdown or something, but it wasn't the case. It was just Sean all of a sudden turning his car on for at least one corner and flying it up there. Now, they've got some back markers to deal with as well here, David, and I think the driver that's probably going to feel the worst of that one is actually going to be Sean Campbell, because his line is that high line, and that's hopefully where we'll see the back markers go to try and get out of the way of everybody. As we shoot a little bit further back, that's Matthew Bruno we were having a quick look at, and the number 85 of George Hill.
The reason for that is because if you look behind, that is Ray Wills and Campbell just behind him right now. So yeah, he is going to get a glorious view of this battle. Again, I'm a very, very slow sim racer, so I absolutely feel so bad for George Hill right now. You're quite happy, you're putting along, you're doing your own race, Jack, and then suddenly you've got these 3 monsters of cars just baying down on you. Look at it! Imagine looking in your mirror, seeing you've got a blue flag and thinking, oh my god, today is the day that I die.
I was going to say, it is pretty terrifying, isn't it? Because the 3 drivers aren't going to compromise their line or their battle, and nor should they. They're racing for the race lead at the end of the day, but unfortunately with NASCAR you can get pretty comfortable with looking in your rearview mirrors, and all of a sudden you're at a corner at 200 kilometers an hour, and all of a sudden you're going to have to react to what's happening around you. It's a little bit difficult. It's not as easy as it looks to just drive around the outside of one of these corners, even though the likes of Sean Campbell make it look easy. It's going to be a little bit scary, as Isaac Ray and Harry Wills are pretty much side by side as we look from the gearbox back of George Hill, and they're creeping ever closer, aren't they? They're just gathering pace and sort of getting larger in the rearview mirror of George Hill's car now. I would be pretty terrified, as he's going to have to start thinking about maybe just coming off the throttle on the next straight, because all of a sudden these cars are there and they're going to look at him and think, you're just getting in the way now, sir. He moves over to the inside. Does he come off the throttle? No, it's almost like he's trying to break the toe. I don't know what George Hill's trying to do here, but he just needs to get out of the way. Isaac Rain hunts him down, Is he going to dive to the inside? George Hill stays in that middle line. I think it should be easier, David, just to get off the throttle now they're on to another straight.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen though. What I'm waiting for is for them to get alongside, and we're going to go on boards and see exactly how terrifying this is. Oh, that's a bit of a slide there. That's going to allow the cars to go past you. He lifts off the throttle, and there you go. There's 1, there's going to be 2, and there's going to be 3. We've got a crash, and that is a caution. That's Jeff Browning, and that is a big, big accident for Jeff. And I saw the number 7 there of Sergio Fitzpatrick slowing down there. I have a horrible feeling that was an incident involving those 2 cars there. Let's have a quick look here then. Oh, and it is. It's contact between the 2 of them, Jack. That's a heavy, heavy hit into the wall it's going to be for the number 59 of Jeff Browning. Thankfully for Sergio, I don't think there's too much contact other than the initial stuff there. We'll go back a little bit and see if we can get a little bit better a view of that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's going to be more than one set of underwear that was Browning by the end of that one, wasn't there, unfortunately. We will have to have a quick look. It looks like he was going on the outside line. Sergio just touches the outside wall as well, but Browning looks fairly clean there with nothing going on. He's having a nice little battle with a 63. I'm not sure who that is at the moment, but all of a sudden it just comes back across.
I'll tell you exactly what's happened there, Jack, is the fact that Sergio has seen the left-hand side, just thought, right, I'm going to take that. And what's happened is that Jeff has had the tow from that car in front, and he's not seen Sergio alongside, and he's know that he's going to be coming up to the car. He's decided to move out to the left-hand side there, and unfortunately that is very predictable what's just happened there with them two. For me, absolute racing incident. I mean, obviously your spotter kind of to blame for that one, but oh man, that's absolutely gutting to see that. What that does mean, though, is that we take our third caution of the evening just before the halfway mark.
And I don't know about the timing tower on the screen, but yeah, there we go. Everybody's coming into the pit lane. So I don't imagine this will be a pit stop for tyres. I imagine we'll see an awful lot of fuel being splashed into the car. Maybe some drivers thinking they'll get to the end now because we are over halfway. Well, actually, we're pretty much bang on halfway in this race. There's a few drivers are having to reverse. Is that going to fall into the... they are taking tyres. So some drivers, I assume, David, that this is going to be a drive to the end of the race for drivers who are taking tyres. I think Mark Redford was actually the driver who potentially will jump both the leaders, as Sean Campbell actually gets into the lead himself. And I don't think Sean took tyres because he was out so quickly. I can't believe he did take tyres. Mark Redford has jumped the previous two race leaders, Harry Wills and Isaac Rain, because they had to reverse into their grid spots. So we said it sort of as a bit of a passing comment in the first load of pit stops. All of a sudden, it's come to quite an important head after this one. In the third caution period, we've seen a real shake-up of the order, and Sean Campbell has taken the lead, but I don't believe he's taken tyres.
Well, here's the thing. So he's 5 seconds or 4 seconds faster than every other car, with the exception of Brandon Hughes, in that pit stop time. So he was in the pits for 10 seconds. So that, I would imagine, is enough. Maybe he's just taking 2 tyres. Maybe he's not taking all 4.
Maybe.
Because that is a bit of a thing nowadays, especially here in iRacing. That's what we have to work out. And if it is just the 2 tyres, look, he had a lot of pace right now. That could be an absolute steal for him.
But equally, even when he has brand new tyres on the car, all 4 tyres, he's not got quite the pace, I don't believe, of the likes of Rain and Wills. So it's going to be difficult for him to sort of hold on to that race lead, I believe. It looks like he's in second place, by the way, but I think that's just Matthew... No, it's number 46, isn't it, actually? I'm not sure. Who is that?
That's Dean Timms.
Oh, it's Dean Timms. Oh, yes, no, he is appearing on my timing tower. Apologies. So Dean Timms will be allowed to unlap himself. Off he goes, which gives Sean Campbell that official race lead. There he is on the right-hand side of your screen, on the inside of the circuit. Mark Redford in second place. As I said, a really quick pit stop, and that was thanks to the fact that he just parked in the correct location. Harry Wills in third, but look who's in fourth place. Started a hashtag for her earlier on, but Judith Cooper has jumped into fourth. Now, I didn't keep an eye on whether Judith actually took tyres or anything like that. I don't think she did. She was in for a sub-7 second pit stop.
6.77 seconds.
Madness,
that is... Wow, that is Usain... That's Red Bull kind of pit stop timing right there.
I was going to say, that's half the time, to put it in perspective, as the majority of the rest of the field. So, Judith Cooper, I think we can pretty much guarantee, hasn't taken tyres there, David. Are we sort of in agreement on that one?
I think absolutely that's absolutely the case on that one. We'll certainly see whether or not that car can do well with it. It's been in the pits a couple of times, so it might not affect them too well. Thing is, if we've got another yellow flag within the next 10 laps, it's not really going to matter for any of them. It's not really, certainly not going to matter for Judith anywhere. And I can only presume, being the media director for Prismatic Motorsport, that right now she's feeding off of all this terrible pun energy from Trans-Taco in chat.
I was going to say, I'm hoping there's just a constant stream to lift her spirits, to be honest.
Do you think they're maybe on voice chat with each other? It's just like constant, like, bad, terrible puns.
I was going to say, maybe they're just bouncing these ideas off each other. Maybe that's why they're lacking in concentration.
Oh my god, we need to get Taco in the commentary booth. But away we go!
Yeah, there's a racing for to start with, isn't there?
Completely forgot about that. You know?
It's
Sean Campbell,
annoying when it gets in the way, but Sean Campbell does run away with it. He's got a fantastic start. Harry Wills is on the inside of Mark Redford, and those two battling nicely. But Sean Campbell gets the start he was dreaming of.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't he? But the thing is that look at Mark Redford and Isaac Rain more specifically. Rain getting a really, really good jump out the front there as we see a car disappearing in the back of the field there. Now, Rain's a little bit boxed in here. He can't actually do anything because Harry Wills on the inside there. And that's a huge, huge moment there for Mark Redford. And the car goes spinning round into the wall, and that is going to be heavy contact. And guess who gets caught up in that? Sergio Fitzpatrick once again. And we've got a yellow flag. And Judith Cooper, I don't think is particularly bothered about that very quick pit stop. Yeah, there you go. Wow, that was brutal. and that all stemmed from that moment. I don't actually think that was Mark Redford. Let's pretend that we didn't just see that happening. That is, yeah, that's awful day so far. At least we're halfway. That's the good thing. And already we've had less cautions than I think the US one did this time last week.
I was going to say, if you're playing WSL NASCAR bingo, then Saoirse Fitzpatrick being turned in on, check. Safety car bringing a safety car, check. Somebody could be winning a prize by the end of this one, couldn't they? Sean Campbell leading the race, check. So it's quite a few unfortunate incidents that we've seen up and down the order, but here's a replay of it. And Mark Redford, he got loose last time he took tyres as well, after the previous stop, and unfortunately didn't really seem to learn his lesson there, did he? He ended up doing exactly the same thing, but last time it didn't really cause many issues, and he caught it, and this time he collected a few more cars, shall we say, and has been the cause not only a safety car caution period, but also the demise of a few other drivers. Now, this is Saoirse's point of view as we jump on board. See Mark Redford getting a little bit loose there. Don't know how much concentration she'll be focusing on that car, considering she had a car up her inside. But she nearly avoided it. But again, sod's law, just a clip of the left-hand side, and all of a sudden she's in the wall. Didn't really have anywhere to go again.
Wow. That is going to be absolutely gutting for Saoirse. You can see Judith Cooper going into pit lane there. My favourite part of that, right, was the fact that now who was it that spun at the beginning there? I completely lost. Mark Redford, of course it was. Just pile drived into the side of Harry Wills, and Harry Wills just drove off like, yeah, it's fine, absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. Coming to the pits, he'll be able to use a fast repair if he needs to, but yeah, he kind of got out of jail free for that one.
He did indeed. It's going to be a bit ask to get from where he's going to end up to the lead of the race. He won't be a lap down because he's pitting under safety car. No one else is pitting. Hopefully they'll go slow enough for him to be able to get out there. And in fact, he is already out there. It's going to be a big ask to end up winning this race. But you know what they say? When there's a wills, there's a way, of course. So Harry, I'm sure, will find that way.
Just stop. Just no, okay?
I'm lining them up.
Can we just make sure that this is, like, you never do this when DJ's here. You're the consummate professional. So
he doesn't allow me. He sort of doesn't show that he doesn't like it. So I don't wind him up about it.
I miss DJ so much this week. I've got to be honest. It's just like, see his growling, roaring tones. See, is it even just as a director? It just puts such a smile on my face. As being a commentator myself, you listen to him, and it'll be exactly the same with yourself, Jack. You work alongside somebody that so much energy, so much passion. Oh, yeah. You're just like, yeah, I really do like that. So DJ is actually in real life away doing some commentary at some small, worldwide SRO event, which is, it's fine. It's if he wants to go and do that. This is where the real action is, right here with me and you, Jack.
I was going to say, I don't particularly see that as an excuse. He could take his laptop. We're just streaming through Discord. He could take a microphone. I mean, I'm sure he probably gets a break. I don't really see it as an excuse. But here, he's decided that's more important to him. So, whatever. No, obviously, he's doing a fantastic job, isn't he? Let's face it. I think this is his first year in full-on motorsport, and he's got an SRO gig, and you can't blame him, because as you said, he's a bundle of energy. He's got a fantastic rip-roaring voice for it. And to be honest, let's face it, he sounds better on a NASCAR broadcast than us British drones, doesn't it? But we like to throw a little bit extra in there. That's why I'm bringing out the puns. I'm trying to make up for the fact that I don't really suit the American NASCAR broadcast.
We make up for our lack of American accent with dry wit and sarcasm. That's
gotta love the British.
Yeah, exactly. we'll just bring the mood of the race down several notches. But right, let's focus on this restart then, because the pace car lights are off, and I had stumble there because, like you, Jack, I'm so used to it's a safety car, but it's a pace car here in American terms. Sean Campbell back into the front of this race then. Isaac Crane second place, Stuart Reynolds in third. Now, Harry Wills was my guy to be keeping an eye on here, down in 9th position right now.
But as I said, crucially, on the lead lap, and I think there's no arguing, we saw in that extended green period earlier on, He is the fastest man on circuit, and he can consistently keep the fastest driver out on circuit, I should say. And he's consistently the fastest driver. He held on to his tyres brilliantly, and he kept putting in the times. He was the longest driver to stay in the 54s. If he can carry on doing that whilst overtaking with these new tyres on board, we're going to see Harry Wills very close to the front of the order very, very quickly. Sean Campbell, very used to leading the way in the WSL NASCAR EU Series, but it doesn't look like he's had everything his own way so far tonight. What can he pull out the bag on this restart? He's already pinged one of them. Isaac Rain has already pinged two of them. What can they pull out as the green flag flies? Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing as Sean Campbell flies away. 2.5 tenths the good of Isaac Rain, and that's Stuart Reynolds in third position. Isaac Rain doesn't look like he's in too much trouble as Isaac Rain and Uxoy get very close to each other for third place. And in fact, I think that's Heat Trick on the outside, suffering a little bit as Isaac Rain is already looking at the inside of Sean Campbell, who runs very close to the outside line. Rain has got a fantastic drive off the corner. It looks like he got those tyres nicely heated up. They're in that perfect zone. Power early on out of turn 1, and he's able to get into turn 2 in the lead.
Brilliant action there. Great move from Rain to get that position there. Huge moment in the background. That's going to be George Hill. Bang. And that is almost certainly going to not be a caution. But that is an engine that has been absolutely mangled. Look at the state of that. What I'm not even going to ask on this point. Yeah, just... I'm sure it's very difficult to control the car. He's just... Oh, no, I thought he'd just given up at this point. But, yeah, George Hill is having none of it. Right, so he's off into pits. So, we're still racing. So, yay. Happy days for that one, then.
Happy days indeed. Yeah, I was about to say, it's a well-known fact that when you blow your engine, you can't quite turn left. But luckily, he managed to get it back to the pit lane. Now, Isaac Rain's got into the race lead, and we're almost seeing a little bit of a repeat of the Harry Wills' attempt to get away for the race lead, because Sean Campbell is yet again holding up, shall we say, a couple more drivers. There's 6 tenths of the gap now, but he's got Stuart Reynolds this time behind him, and then there's a bit of a train of these teammates, isn't there, with Stuart Reynolds, Matthew Petrick, Errol Uxoy, and of course Harry Wills in this sort of fight for second position now, because, as I said, Isaac Rain does seem to be pulling away. That's Mark Redford in, by the looks of it, a fast repaired number 77, currently sat in 7th position, just overtaking Jeff Browning, who of course had an incident earlier on. Doesn't look like they've treated the car cosmetically, but still able to run around on the circuit, which is nice to see. And there is Harry Wills getting up ahead of his teammate in the 61 of Errol Uxoy, as Stuart Reynolds, Harry Wills' other teammate, gets past Sean Campbell.
Yeah, brilliant job there. Great to see that actually happening there, and Reynolds getting up ahead of Sean Campbell there for that second place. The thing is that Sean Campbell, you know, he isn't a slow driver. He deserves his place up there on the podium right now, but he's going to be made to work for it. You can be damn sure of that one, because Matthew Heatrick and Harry Wills, they're going to be right on his tail very, very shortly. Yeah, Harry Wills though, I mean, the pace that he has got already is just ridiculous. But Rain with that new set of tyres, 54.29 that last lap there, that was his fastest lap of the race, and that was the fastest lap of the race. Have a look at Harry Wills, so having a look up the insides of Matthew Heatrick, gets that job done, and that is going to be a move for position. It did look like Heatrick actually moving out the way slightly.
I was going to say, they are in communication. You can see on the Discord, actually, that in the admin sort of voice channel, they've got Stuart Reynolds in there, Dean Timms, Errol Uxoy, Harry Wills, and Matthew Heatrick. So all 5 of those drivers are in constant communication, which is very helpful, to be honest, isn't it, David? When you sort of are fighting this close to one another at 200 kilometres an hour or so, and you want to make sure that you're sort of getting the idea, and you're almost warning them, okay, I'm making a move into this corner, I'm alongside you, don't turn across. Which sounds quite counterproductive for a close race, and obviously for defending somebody, and you're sort of giving the game away. But you're hoping that if they're your teammate, they respect that, and they sort of give you a little bit extra room that maybe some drivers out there on the circuit probably wouldn't do.
You hope so. Whether or not that happens is another matter, absolutely, entirely. But it looks like George Hill is about to have some company, because he's got the leaders, as we've got a car down into the inside there. That was Errol Uxoy. I don't know if that was just wide out of the corner there, but very, very strange. Anyway, let's have a look at... oh, this is not what you want to see for the leaders, is it?
Nah, this is getting a little bit sketchy. I think. Are we on board with George Hill again? Is it George Hill
Yes,
we're looking at? Yeah, it is. 85 George Hill and blinking in and out of existence. Now, the fact that, oh, there we go. That's another blink. As soon as our camera pans away for any random reason that looks a little bit sort of janky, it's because George Hill is sort of lagging in and out of existence. I like to say he's TARDISing. He's sort of going in and out, and that's his connection to the internet or to the servers of iRacing struggle a little bit, and it's basically lagging. And the problem is he can disappear, and a driver can go into the space that he actually occupies, and he can reappear, and all of a sudden that driver ends up in a massive crash, and they're somehow inside each other, sort of thing. And it's scary at the best of times. The NASCAR is downright terrifying when you are Isaac Rain and you are catching him up.
You just know this has got disaster written all over it, don't you? I mean, he's right there, and you know that Rain is going to put the throttle down. Hill is going to disappear. He's going to reappear inside, and one of the cars is going straight to the moon. Oh my goodness me! And got it done. Great move from Isaac Rain. And yeah, delighted to see that happened on the straightaway. If I'm honest though, I think George Hill doing the right thing and just taking the foot out of the gas there.
Yeah, I was going to say, because if Isaac Rain had actually made contact with George and ended up causing a caution period and falling down the order, it wouldn't have been a hill to climb, it would have been a mountain, wouldn't it, by the end of it? So I'm glad to see that that's all dissipated and Isaac Rain has gotten through. George Hill will have quite a few other cars to sort of pull alongside and hopefully jump out of the way on, but we'll have to keep an eye on him slightly. As we look a little bit further back, this is Matthew Heatrick we're currently focusing on, with Mark Redford just behind, and Sean Campbell, who is now dropped behind Harry Wills while we were having a look at that back marker versus leader battle. So Harry Wills has managed to not only catch up to Sean Campbell, has overtaken him, and now his eyes set firmly on his compatriot Stuart Reynolds.
Yeah, just on board with Harry Wills just now, then onto the back of George Hill again here, trying to feed that car on the inside there. A little bit too much power in on the entry to the turn. You could see the car squealing in protest. Yeah, it's not gonna go well for Wills if he continues to abuse these tyres like this, given we're on lap 50 out of 75, and I'm starting to get a little bit worried again as that car blinking in and out of existence here. And the thing is this adds a little bit of uncertainty to Harry Wills as well. He sees that car up in front and thinks, yeah, I'm not sure whether or not I want to actually commit to this. And yeah, we wait with bated breath, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. That is not what you want to see at all. The nerves right now, I can imagine, are on tenterhooks for Harry Wills.
I was going to say, because Harry won't have seen what we saw with Isaac Rain, because Harry actually caught George Hill at the same point that Isaac Rain caught him, and we know that George was going to stay to the right-hand side. But if he disappears, I mean, most backmarkers would probably go to the inside, the offline, wouldn't they, to try and allow the faster driver through. And if he disappears and Harry Wills is thinking, oh, he's going to go to the inside, and then he doesn't, or he does, it could be a massive mess. But very luckily, they got through that one. As Mark Redford and Sean Campbell, and we've seen this battle before, but we haven't seen it for fourth position, have we? We almost saw it for the race lead earlier on, as Sean Campbell goes to put a little bit of a squeeze on Mark Redford. I think it's just safe to say, for whatever reason, Sean hasn't quite got the car set up. Maybe he hasn't done the testing. Maybe the others have just seemed to have found a tenth or so that he just wasn't able to handle. But it just hasn't agreed with him, the tricky triangle here at Pocono. And I'm sure he'll be looking forward to next week as he gets a little bit of a squeeze there and a snap of oversteer coming off the back end of Mark Redford. And that's absolutely ruined his run now. This is damage limitation for our championship leader.
Yeah, it certainly was. And listen, that wasn't a snap oversteer from Mark Redford. That was a full-on hip check into Sean Campbell there. That was why that car wibbled at the front there. I quite like that word. I'm maybe going to use that more often. Wibbled.
You learn a new word every day, don't you?
Exactly. Or you just make them up like I do. That's usually what happens. Oh, I've seen that mannerism. I've seen that driving style from Sean Campbell before. The way he just flew past Matthew Heatrick. Oh, and the pit stop. Okay, into the pits now. Is that damage or is that for tyres, I wonder?
I'm guessing it's for tyres. We saw in that last pit stop that he only was in the pits for 10 seconds compared to everybody else's 14, 15. So either he only took half the tyres, which sounds weird to say, but he took the outside tyres, or maybe he didn't take any tyres at all, but he put a lot of fuel in there. But with 23 to go, Sean Campbell is back in. Whatever was happening, whatever he did, it clearly didn't work, did it? Because he was, as I said, just seems to be falling further back, and just keeping an eye on his time to the pit lane. As Isaac Grain is out there still lapping in the race lead by 2 seconds nearly, Sean Campbell's that pit stop was 14.5 seconds. So there we go. That's the stop we expected him to do earlier on. Whether or not now he's fueled to the end and the other drivers aren't necessarily is going to be another interesting sort of conundrum that they'll have to get over. Maybe other drivers will have to come in and do a 6 to 10 second splash and dash. If there isn't a safety car, or pace car I should say, caution period, that could really throw the cat amongst the pigeons, and all of a sudden we might be talking about a Sean Campbell masterclass.
Well, that certainly could be on the watch list for the evening. But my curiosity is this right now. Harry Wills ahead of Stuart Reynolds right now. So we've seen Sean Campbell come into the pits here. What I would like to think is that if he comes in just now and then we have a yellow flag, I think he's actually going to be in a really good position, because he's going to have warmer tyres that are ready to go. That's a huge power slide round the corner from Harry Wills. Let's actually see if we can go on board and get an idea of just how much that Harry is pushing this car, Jack, because he seems to roll off the throttle, dump down a gear and just slide the car in round the corner. The back end wants to slide out from him as soon as he puts any sort of power back on that there, but he's not bringing that gap down to the leader at all. So the thing is that he's pushing hard. I just can't see whether or not this is actually going to happen here.
I was going to mention it earlier, and I think I got lost with something else. But I sort of got the impression that Harry Wills was driving as if he expected another pace car period, or that he was hoping for another pace car period. Of course, he finished that last period in the pace car down in 9th position. He took a pit stop, obviously, and he's done very well to get into second. But like you said, he's driving the absolute nuts off this car right now. He's sliding it left, right, and centre. With 20 laps to go, I mean, we saw these drivers come in 25 laps in to change tyres and to fuel up and everything like that. So I just can't imagine that his tyres are going to last to the very end. I think he is banking on another pace car period. If their pace car does come out, yes, Sean Campbell will be in a very good position. But to be honest, I think Harry Wills will be as well, because we know how quick he is on that fresh set of boots. As we see the 24 and the 85, that is Matthew Bruno and George Hill. George Hill on the outside. We know he's been lagging quite substantially, but I think this is actually for an actual position, as Matthew Bruno goes into 11th position.
The reason I was bringing up that one is because just behind them, that is the 96 of Matthew Heatrick, trying to get past and not successfully managing to do so. So he is getting held up hand over fist as Mark Redford into to pit lane as well here. So we're seeing quite a few green flag pit stops here. The thing is that, you know, unless it's a car binning it by themselves, I can't see any reason for a yellow flag here. We've not got too many cars that are bunched up together here.
It wouldn't be the first time that cars bend it by themselves, of course, though, would it? And you would just hope that, because we have such large gaps between all the cars, that yes, if one does spin off, they don't get collected by anybody else, because hopefully there'll be time to react, obviously. But fingers crossed, we are green to the end, because I think the likes of Isaac Rain is being pulled in by about a tenth or so of a second every other lap to Harry Wills, but I don't think you could really argue against Isaac Rain taking the top step of the podium. Of course, he led earlier on, didn't he, David? And he actually qualified on pole, and he held the lead from Harry Wills very well, right up until the point, obviously, that Sean Campbell decided to start throwing his nose at the inside here, there, and everywhere, and slowing them both up. So I think at the moment, the top two, you would say, yeah, they deserve it. But there is always that a little niggle in the back of their heads that may be saying you're going to have to pit soon. Will the tyres hold on? Or will the likes of Redford and Campbell charge through the order with their fresh sets of tyres on, maybe going a second quicker per lap even when we get towards the last 5 laps or so. Will they be a threat right at the end?
Well, that is exactly what we're going to be waiting with bated breath to find out here. But it's all been about this man right now, Isaac Rain. As I swear I saw Harry Wills just power sliding that car right out the back of that turn 3 there. That was rather impressive. Looks like we've got another little battle further back there. That was for position. I believe that might have been Jeff Browning and Brandon Hughes that were involved with that one. As well, but we'll keep our eye on the race leader Isaac Rain, as we've got 17 laps to go here in round 6 of the World Series League's NASCAR EU competition. And of course, a chance for us to say a huge thank you to our commercial partners and sponsors for the championship as well. Cami Sturch, a huge thank you to her over at Go For The Gap. If you've not checked out her Etsy store already, then please head over and go and do so. She does some of the most eye-catching and attractive artwork, graphic design that I have properly seen right now. It is just really gorgeous stuff. Does tend to be the later stuff just now seems to be F1 focused, but there's some beautiful GTE artwork there as well. I definitely fancy getting myself some of that. I need to put a custom commission in because I need to get a black and yellow Merc AMG GT3. That would be getting like a custom print of that. That would be my day would be absolutely made. But we've also got to say a huge thank you to SIM3D as well, huge UK supplier of custom and bespoke sim racing peripherals as well, so make sure to check them out. And as always, we're very grateful for all of the support. So back to the race, almost 15 laps to go. Isaac Rain out in front here, Jack. The gap at 1.5, it's been stable. Jeff Browning into the pits.
So another driver coming in for a green stop, and again just sort of mounting up the likelihood that we will see a few more green stops before the end of this race. How are the likes of Redford and Campbell getting on? Well, I'll tell you that last time I checked, which was about 5 laps ago, Redford was about 47 seconds away from the race leader, and with 15 laps to go, he's still 47 seconds away from the race leader, and his lap times are only about a tenth. Well, on that previous lap time was only a tenth quicker than Isaac Rain, who is still thoroughly into the into the 54s. Stuart Reynolds just got past Harry Wills. Is that a timing tower glitch, or is that actually on track?
It's actually on track. So let's see what happened there for that pass then.
Oh, I think Harry Wills is about to go into the pits. He has. And he's hit the wall, hasn't he?
That's why. Let's see if we can actually cut back a little bit more and see actually what happened with Harry Wills here. So gets it loose, the tail end smacks the wall. Remember I was saying for the past couple of laps, he looks like he's been sliding that car around there. That is big contact into the wall, and well, there you go. Thankfully, again, no caution, but that's it. That for me, that's going to have done it. Harry Wills now, unless we get a safety car, in which case, things might change. But everyone into the pits now. Errol Ruxoy, Brandon Hughes, Judith Cooper into the pits as well. Okay, that's not Judith Cooper into the pits.
It's Judith Cooper near the pits.
It's close enough, I guess. I'm not really sure what to make of that one. Let's see. We'll see if we can cut down for a replay. Gets it wide out the corner. Oh, it's just locked up onto the brakes, trying to get the car sorted for pit lane, and just spins the car. That is, yeah. The less said about that, the better. But our leaders in the pits.
Is Isaac Rain into the pits, or is Reynolds and Heatrick?
Apologies, sorry, it was Reynolds and Heatrick. Yeah, my timing tower had glitched out there.
Yeah, I was going to say, so Isaac Rain stays out with 13 to go. Now, I think it's safe to say he's got a quite enormous lead now. I think, actually, he's lapped Harry Wills. He's going to lap anybody who's currently in the pit lane, which is going to be, obviously, pretty big news. And Isaac Rain could come out of this. All he has to do is survive now, but he's not going to, because he's going to come into the pits himself. Now, how is Isaac Rain going to come out of this? Has Mark Redford been able to sort of almost get the undercut, quite substantial undercut. Has Harry Wills been able to get a decent pit stop? Well, what I can tell you is that Mark Redford's actually, and Sean Campbell, have both jumped Harry Wills and Matthew Heatrick. So although we were saying that's a very early time for them to pit stop, they have managed to jump them on track. And a lot of drivers and a lot of team tacticians would probably say they'd rather have track position than tactical advantage, especially with 12 laps to go. It's going to be difficult to see how they're going to sort each other out, but I think we're currently having a look at Stuart Reynolds as Isaac Rain is still in the pit. He's still stopping. His time has just ticked over to 15 seconds, which means he'll be coming out of the pit lane now as Stuart Reynolds is about to come across the line. No, he isn't. He's still 30-odd seconds back. It's an absolutely massive lead for Isaac Rain as there's Stuart Reynolds appearing in your picture now, about to go around turn 1. But Isaac Rain holds on to this race lead with cold tyres. He's going to have to just be patient for a lap to get the heat into them. But I think he's timed that to perfection, David.
Absolutely spot on. I couldn't say anything else other than that. That was a great job there from Isaac Rain. As you said, timed it very, very well indeed. The only challenge that he had was from Harry Wills, and Harry obviously kind of puts himself out of contention with 12 laps left to go. Unless we do get a yellow flag here, I can't see that happening because the cars are so well spaced out that it could happen. That's the simple thing, but you'd hate to see that decided like that because Isaac Rain has put on a masterclass tonight. Stuart Reynolds is taking second place at the moment, Mark Redford in third just now. How the heck has Mark Redford got a podium potentially out of this, given all of the drama he's been in tonight?
Prayers and good juju, that's all I can imagine. He's just been that, he's had everything thrown at him. And apart from, I would say, Saoirse Fitzpatrick, he's probably been the most unlucky driver out there. And there is Saoirse. How many laps down is she right now? 3 laps down at the moment, but has been in the pit lane already for another minute and 45 seconds. So I'm not sure if they've just given up the ghost or not, and has to transport herself, 4 places back. That'll be why. He went forward too far, didn't reverse it, decided to tow back to the pits, but because she'd already gone past her pit box, the tow that she has to then suffer, it was probably about a 3-minute tow. So, yeah, that is, let's just go from bad to worse for Saoirse. And we're hoping by the end of this series we get a positive interview to have with her afterwards, because she's always up for coming in and having a chat to us in the post-race interviews, but it's unfortunately not really been for any sort of massively positive reason so far, and fingers crossed we can have a chat to her before the end of the season in a positive way. Dean Timms, another driver who's just come into the pits and I think is, 22 laps down at the moment. Saoirse Fitzpatrick is 26 laps down. Robbie Power, unfortunately, who had that power cut or whatever it was, I can't remember now, was 62 laps down. So, yeah, a fair few drivers who have unfortunately not really made it as far as they would like. It's a bit of a shame, though. We haven't seen the likes of Sean English and Kevin Stanby just never took to the race start.
Yeah, the other thing I'm noticing as well is this driver here, Sean Campbell, still in 4th position. That is a good amount of points for this third to last race. Remember, we've got another 2 rounds to go after this one. We've got rounds 7 and 8 after this, which will be at Homestead Raceway and Talladega Superspeedway. Talladega, Jack, that is going to be one hell of a final round.
I was going to say, especially if Sean Campbell gives up a few points basically in the last couple of... I mean, have a look at this. I was about to say he's done brilliantly because although he's not been that quick, he is finishing ahead of Harry Wills, but right now he's got Harry Wills' teammate Matthew Heatrick up behind him, and then Harry Wills himself is the next car, I believe, to be potentially pulling alongside, and we'll have to wait and see. But here comes Matthew Heatrick, indeed pulling alongside Sean Campbell, and this will only slow both of them up, potentially put them into the path of Harry Wills. Sean Campbell doesn't really have the car to fight back. Unfortunately, his tyres will be older now than the cars around them by about 10 laps or so. He's clearly trying, but it's just you don't get the impression that he's able to make a move stick so far, David, tonight. And it's very unusual. Normally, we're used to seeing Sean absolutely fly through the order and basically do what Harry's done tonight.
It's a difficult one, isn't it, to watch because we're so used to seeing a driver doing very, very well and being very, very consistent, and that's just not happened tonight. It's been a really difficult day at the races for Sean Campbell. Thankfully, it's just one round. We will see how that car recovers over the remaining rounds, but still, 5th place, it's still some good points for the championship, Jack.
It is indeed, as we're currently actually having a look at the 63. Now, I think someone's caught me out before. It's Errol Uxoy, isn't it? I thought it was Harry Wills, but it absolutely isn't. Errol is down in 12th place. The reason why it's caught me out before is because he's got the number 63 on the side of his car, but according to our official timing, he's the number 61, which is why I can never quite find out where Errol is on the track or when we're watching a battle with him being involved. Who's he actually fighting? It's Judith Cooper, isn't it? So this one is actually for position with the number 5 car, which has number 4 on the side of the paint, which again just really helpful.
They just like to make your life difficult, don't they, Jack? That's what it is. They're just like, how can we make his life as hellish as it possibly can be?
I was going to say, not only is Judith Cooper car, I mean, it looks good, but the number isn't exactly clear, so you have to really focus, and all of a sudden you get the number 4 out, and you think, well, there isn't a number 4. How is that possible? Anyway, I'll stop ranting, because with 7 to go, we're going to focus a little bit on our Isaac Rain race leader at the moment. 6 seconds to good to Stuart Reynolds. It was 4.5 seconds when they came out the pits. He's done nothing but extend the gap.
It's been brilliant, actually, for Isaac Rain tonight. It's been an exemplary run. And the thing is, he came into this round 25 points behind your championship leader of Sean Campbell. I wonder how much that is going to eat into the lead. I'm going to do some mental arithmetic while...
Cool. Careful.
Yeah, exactly. You can kind of fill in for a second while my brain goes into overdrive here.
I was going to say, I will talk while David pulls a muscle. I'm sure
Excuse
I'm
me?
being harsh. I'm being harsh. You wouldn't think it's the first time we've worked together, would you? I'm making a very bad first impression. But Isaac Rain is making a very good 6th impression here, and he's driving very, very well. Isaac, we've seen quite often towards the front of the order, and it's never really, again, made it stick and got those race victories. But today here, he's going to have to do something, pretty monumental to screw this one up, I would say. And at the moment, he's shown no reason why he would be doing such a thing. He's not even driving
apart from
the
the fact that you've just cursed him now.
Oh, the commentator's curse is on him. But so if he can throw that off, he really will deserve the race victory. As we shoot a little bit further back, but we've got a spinner.
That's Harry Wills.
It is Harry Wills, isn't it? I was going to say it's the only other driver that I can see.
Oh, his car's wrecked. Absolutely wrecked, that thing is. Let's see what happened to him.
As he touched the apron, we did warn on that earlier on.
Now, you know why I'm laughing is because Harry Wills said a couple of weeks ago that they're trying to clamp down on the driving standards. So one of the things is if a driver brings out a yellow flag by crashing by themselves, we've got to let Harry know about it. No yellow flag, so I think he gets away with it there, but I think Harry Wills needs to have a little word with Harry Wills about driving standards there.
He brought that rule in just before California last week, didn't he?
And it's been twice for him.
Yeah, the first pace car period we had, the first caution period, was Harry Wills chucking it off. And we couldn't believe it in the booth.
To be fair, I did take great delight in messaging him.
I'm sure you did. Saw you loving it on the Discord when you were broadcasting. I'm sure he is quite often a fella who does see the brighter side of things, does see the irony in certain things, doesn't he? So hopefully he won't be too displeased with that one, but he will be displeased with the fact that he probably feels like he's thrown away a potential race victory here twice, because he has spanned pretty much on his own twice, hasn't he? Now after touching that outside line. His driving style has been very entertaining. It's been very fast. It's been very sideways. It's been highly risky, hasn't he? And I think we've seen both the pros and the cons to his driving style tonight.
We absolutely have. It's the way these races go, isn't it? You have to give everything to try and hold on to it. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. What I will say though is Trans Taco has completely undone the kind of walk of shame that they had to do earlier on. Harry Wills, come on, that is the comment of the night. I don't know if we can sort a prize for that one, but my goodness, that deserves it. But 2 laps left to go here.
I was about to try and think of a pun, but I was like, I've already said one about Harry Wills. I won't say another one because Dave might just kick me out of the broadcast. So I didn't. But yeah, fair play to Taco. She's been on point today with the puns, so fair play to them. 2 to go. Isaac Grain still in the race lead. It's 7 seconds now, pretty much the gap to Stuart Reynolds, who I'm sure will just be fairly happy with taking a second place, and hopefully we can have a chat to them after the race, as well as there is Stuart Reynolds. In fact, the gap forward is about the same as the gap backwards to Mark Redford, who, like we mentioned a fair few times already, has had to weather a few storms so far, but he's come out at the moment in 3rd place, 11 seconds ahead of Matthew Heatrick. So, fair play to all of them, as I believe the white flag is out now and is flown in the direction of Isaac Grain. And we've said it many a times already this race, but he's been fairly impervious to most things, hasn't he? Yes, he's been overtaken. Yes, he's been involved with nice close battles here, there and everywhere, particularly involving Sean Campbell and Harry Wills. But through all of it, he's managed to just about hold on to that race lead, always be within touching distance. In fact, even at the end when he had to take the last... Oh, I'll tell you what, that must be insulting if you're Harry Wills, doesn't it? As Isaac Grain puts a lap on. I mean, that screams Verstappen lapping Hamilton, doesn't it, unfortunately? But it's through it all, Isaac Grain has not only given himself an opportunity to be in the race lead when the checkered flag drops, he's done it in style, and he's done it without too much fuss. Either as Harry Wills throws one last drift in the background just to give a bit of a show to Isaac Grain, who takes the checkered flag here at round 6 at Pocono. And Harry Wills ending the race backwards behind him, with Stuart Reynolds also getting a little bit, into the wall, shall we say. Mark Redford will take the 77 across the line to take 3rd position, with Matthew Heatrick, and in about 10 seconds' time, will cross the line to take 4th place. And there we go. Matthew Heatrick has crossed the line now. As as I said, all of Harry Wills' teammates, the likes of Reynolds and Heatrick, they're all starting to do a bit of a show and dance, try and put on a spectacle, as Mark Redford, we're focusing on now, takes that podium position. Sean Campbell has come across the line to take 5th. We're just waiting on Brandon Hughes and Jeff Browning, who right at the last minute have actually swapped positions on the line. By the looks of it, Brandon Hughes just pipping Jeff Browning to 6th place. And I have to say, David, before we get into the interviews, before we start chatting to a few of our drivers, a couple of thoughts on on the race there from you, because that was, if you were going to jump into the box, that's one you wanted to jump in on.
Yeah, that was really, really enjoyable. I really, really like that. I'm devastated for Saoirse Fitzpatrick. She deserved so much better from that one. Great race though for your top 3. And I guess, look, at the end of the day, it was Isaac who brought the rain on Sean Campbell's parade there. I'm sorry,
he absolutely
it's
did.
been an entire race, and I managed to get one in. So I
love the fact of leaning into it.
Just you've got to embrace it, don't you? That's about the only time I'll actually be funny on a broadcast. But look, Harry Wills as well. What a devastating blow that has been for Harry tonight. I get the feeling that Harry's kind of championship is kind of coming undone a little bit, because that's now been the 2 out of the 3 last races that he has really, really struggled with. But let's have a little run down the results for the race then.
Absolutely, yeah. And as I said, I'm glad to see that, David, right at the end, you're leaning into the puns. I'm going to go away and basically write a load for next week, just so I can surprise DJ with them. Isaac Grain takes the race victory by 7 seconds ahead of Stuart Reynolds. Then you've got Mark Redford rounding out the podium, and what was a very good recovery drive quite often through most of that race. Matthew Heatrick was in 4th with Sean Campbell. He didn't have the pace, he didn't have the car underneath him. Does have a top 5 though, and sometimes your champions can surprise you like that. Brandon Hughes was in 6th place with Jeff Browning in 7th. Harry Wills, well, we've already mentioned him a few times, didn't quite have the race that he was hoping for and ended up being a lap down, and the leading driver on the lapped cars, but that won't be any consolation to him. 8th place at the end of the day, probably he won't be too pleased with. Matthew Bruno was in 9th. Ella Ruxoy was in top 10 position. 11th with Judith Cooper. 12th being George Hill. Dean Timms was in 13th. 32 laps down. We're starting to get to the realms of the drivers that were just full-on DNFs. Saoirse Fitzpatrick was in 14th, Bobby Power was in 15th. Sean English and Kevin Stamp didn't take to the Tri-Oval. Bit of a shame. A couple of people nicely jumping into the YouTube chat as well, giving their lovely feedback. Taco, lovely to have you so active in the comments, and thank you very much for the compliment on the commentary as well. It's always nice to have a bit of feedback from the YouTube chat. Now, I believe we've got Mark Redford waiting in the sides of the commentary booth. I'm just wondering whether we can open the door and bring him in from the cold, shall we say. And although I'm pretty sure he'll be enjoying it. As he joins me now, Mark Redford, a podium,
hello, Jack.
Podium sitter by the end of that, weren't you? Third position? Happy, you must be.
Yeah, got to be happy with a podium every time.
I was going to say, it's a little bit better than the Civic Cup malarkey you ended up with yesterday, wasn't it?
Oh, I was quite pleased with that yesterday. I got a decent 7th place. That was all right for me.
Well, fair play, but we'll focus a little bit on what's happening right here in this race. You ended up, obviously, having to have a little bit of a recovery drive through that, was it? Talk us through your race and some of the not only the highs, but you had a few lows in there as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I embarrassed myself a bit on lap 39 when I got loose in the tunnel turn and caused a big wreck. So apologies to everybody who got involved in that. Sorry.
I was going to say, I said at the time that it looked like after the first pit stop, you got a bit loose and you managed to catch it, which was brilliant driving. And the second time, it was almost like you didn't quite expect it again. You didn't quite learn from that. Was that something you were sort of trying to keep an eye on? You just got a little bit carried away, or was it you basically forgotten about that first pit stop and those cold tyres?
Yeah, that was a fairly decent save, wasn't it, on the early one? But it was just, there wasn't much room. So I don't know. I got it loose and then was really trying to catch it, but there wasn't much room to do that with Isaac on the outside and Harry on the inside. So yeah, it all just went a bit wrong. I might have caught it, but there wasn't much space. But yeah, after that, it was just basically, trying to do my best. Trying to catch the guys in front. I think I was in 4th or 5th when I pitted. I thought I'll go for the undercut, see if I can make a place up. And I don't know. I think something must have happened to Harry because he dropped back.
Well, yeah, a few things. A few things happened to Harry, but in the pit lane specifically, you managed to jump 2 drivers because they went past their pit box and you managed to nail it on the park, didn't you? So you must be fairly pleased. It's going to sound weird. Is pitting something you often actually practice, a race pit stop, or is it a case of it something you never practice and therefore that's why you see quite a few drivers get sort of caught out with it?
Yeah, I do practice them actually. You might notice on qualifying, I do a few extra laps and drive into the pits a couple of times to make sure I've got my pit entry right. Couple in practice as well. I did actually overshoot the pit box on a yellow flag caution. I think Isaac did the same in front of me, and then he did it again the next time. So yeah, you just have to keep learning and adjusting. When the tyres are old, it doesn't stop as quickly.
No, exactly. That's the thing, isn't it? Especially with these new cars, this next generation of cars, the brakes are a little bit different. They get a little bit squirrely, don't they? As we saw a few drivers actually spinning into the pit lane. So they can be quite unpredictable, actually, when you hit the anchors properly.
Yeah, especially on a track like this, because you spend most of the lap without using the brakes. And then obviously you're quite heavy on the brakes-ish, kind of medium, I guess, into turn 1, and you're just touching them into turn 3. And yeah, just slightly into the tunnel turn as well. So I guess you keep them warmer than you would do on most tracks.
Fair play. Nice little insight there. I actually thought you just lifted through most of these corners. I can't hear the engine notes or anything like that out of my earphones. So, yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much, Mark. And last question, or second to last question, I should say, actually. Are we not going to see Will joining, obviously, into the championship? I thought you would want to show him how it's done here on the Oval.
He's too scared to take me on the ovals, I think.
He doesn't want to risk it. He doesn't want to risk his pride.
Yeah. No, you'll see him on a few other online races, and of course, are you there at Brands Hatch in a few weeks?
I think I am potentially. I'm there in September anyway. If I'm not there in a few weeks, so I look forward to seeing him then.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Well, Mark, before we let you go and enjoy your podium position and rubbing it in Will's face, would you like to give a shout out to anybody before you leave?
Yeah, a shout to you guys who always do an excellent job in the booth, and to Harry for setting this up. Everyone at Nest in the Woods for working for us and being my sponsors, and a big shout to Will and to Luke, two of my sons who will probably watch at some point if I make them.
I was going to say, with the podium position, you best make them, and you best make them appreciate it as well. Congratulations, Mark, on the third position. Hopefully, we'll speak to you next week.
Thanks, Jack.
And that was Mark Redford jumping into the booth with us after a successful third position. Now, we've got one other driver who's waiting in the broadcast room, and it potentially will be a contrasting interview compared to the joyous one that I just had with Mark Redford. Saoirse, again, we're almost having the same conversation here. It was a race that could have been.
Yeah, it really is a race that could have been. Early on, the car felt incredible. I was running with the top 5 pretty easily. Then I think like lap 15, tapped the outside of turn 2. I kind of dropped back a bit on pace. And then on the first caution, I had intended on taking my optionals, and then I accidentally jumped the car out of the pit stall. So I didn't get to take them. So that's why I couldn't make headway on that restart. The car was just, I don't know what was wrong with it. It was either tighter than I thought it was, or I was down top speed, or something was wrong.
I was going to say, it looked like on the front right from your initial contact with the wall that was sort of going to be causing you a little bit of a problems. And was it just the fact that you couldn't get that fixed then through the first amount of pit stops?
Yeah, through the first, like on the first yellow, I had intended to fix it, and I just messed up, couldn't get it fixed. I was kind of thinking, okay, I'll just get it to the next round of stops, take the repairs then. You know, if I lose track position, I'll have a fixed up car. I'll be able to make my way through the field again. But obviously that never happened, unfortunately.
Yeah, talk us through. I mean, again, a sort of, obviously it's a stupid decision and everything like that, but from my perspective, it looked like a racing incident. But you were, again, just wrong place, wrong time. Nothing to do with you. Just ended up being caught in another person's incident. It must be heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It's really frustrating to get wrecked by one person, take your fast repair, and then get wrecked by someone else. And in fairness, like, it wasn't the 77's fault that I hit him. You know, he got hit by somebody else, or maybe spun avoiding another car. That's not on him, really. But it is so frustrating that it seems like every week I've got the ability to finish at least in the top 5, and something stops me from doing it.
Yeah, I was going to say, we commented on that quite a few times during the broadcast, actually, that we're just hoping that one day we'll actually have a chat to you afterwards, and it'll be because you are on the podium and not having to sort of debrief us on what potentially sort of what went wrong, basically, in your perspective of what went wrong through the race. In fact, actually, just to rub salt in the wounds, David Christie has actually put up you spinning and facing the wrong way round, which is just lovely to see on the broadcast while we're chatting to you. Last 2 rounds then. Obviously, I wouldn't say you really need to improve your pace or anything like that. Obviously, it's just bad luck, but is it just a case of picking yourself up again and trying to get that practice in and doing exactly the same as what you've been doing for preparation? I mean.
Yeah, pretty much. I haven't driven Homestead in a long time, so going back, relearning the track is going to be interesting. But I'm pretty confident it should be okay there. And then Talladega, if my performance at Daytona is anything to go by, I should be in contention at Talladega. So I'm feeling pretty confident.
Well, good luck for it. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
You guys, because I actually heard some of your incredible puns
Hey!
while I was waiting for my car to get fixed. So love the commentary. It's brilliant. Thank you guys for doing a great job with these broadcasts. Thank you for everyone for setting this up, for Prismatic for the support, for Emily, our setup builder, for the amazing setup once again. To Judy, sorry, no, Jess did the livery. It's a wonderful livery. It's gorgeous. And to all of the sponsors from Prismatic, like Go for the Gap and Certifiably Diverse. Thank you guys.
Absolutely, yeah. Fantastic shouts out there, especially the one about the puns. And I'm glad Dave Christie was here to hear about it as well, because he wasn't a fan of them at the time. But they're clearly a crowd hit, Saoirse. Thank you very much for confirming that. We'll hopefully speak to you next time when it's a little bit of a more sort of uplifting interview and we're talking about podium positions.
Yep. Hopefully next time I'll have some silverware with me.
That's the plan, Saoirse. Brilliant to chat.
You too.
Right, that was Saoirse Fitzpatrick. And I believe that's all the cars, the drivers even, the cars talking to me would be weird. All the drivers that we've got left. And actually, I'll tell you what, that is quick, isn't it? I'll tell you what, they don't hang around at WSL and Dave Christie. So Sean Campbell with 221 points. Harry Wills has just dropped away even more from Sean Campbell, even though he didn't have that particularly brilliant weekend. Oh, evening, I should say. Isaac Rain, he's the biggest gainer out of this championship battle. He's jumped up to third, and with 201 points, is within 20 of Sean Campbell. And with only 2 races to go, that could still be a very closely contested championship. Kevin Stam, who didn't take part in today's event, somehow is still in 4th position, tied on points with our 3rd place man from tonight, Mark Redford. Matthew Heatrick is in 6th, Saoirse Fitzpatrick is in 7th, still very good considering she's had nothing but bad luck. Brandon Hughes is in 8th, with Matthew Bruno in 9th. Again, a sort of average round for him, unfortunately, today. And Gio Neuveld, who, again, wasn't here, so fairly impressive that they're still in the top 10. Plenty of drama here, there, and everywhere, David. And one last sort of sign-off from you, I suppose, before we sign off for the entire stream.
Yeah, what a night that was. That was an absolutely epic race. You get the feeling that we're going to come back to this race in a couple of weeks' time to see how the championship all pans out. Isaac Rain squeezing at the sake of Harry Wills. They're taking 5 points off of Sean Campbell. Sean, I think, got a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card tonight, but it all goes down to our next round, and what a next round that is going to be as we head all the way over to the sunny shores of Homestead Raceway for our penultimate race of the season next week.
Yeah, so join us at Homestead. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host today. You'll have the fantastic tones of DJ Clark back with us, hopefully, as well next week. And big thank you to everybody who is contributing in the YouTube chat, who's liked, who's subscribed, who's watched silently and judged us from a distance. So we appreciate you all. A big subscribe would be very much appreciated. You can catch all the action a little bit later on for the US version of the WSL NASCAR series here on Absolute Sim Racing. And for me, Jack Oliphant and David Christie, it's been an absolute honour being your host. We'll see you next week. Good night.